Welcome to X Generation Fish Report. This is your inshore report for the week. Today I'm joined by Captain Danny. Captain Danny, good to see you.
Good to be seen. They let me out again.
They let you out again, huh?
Yeah, man. They should have known better.
What's going on inshore? Tell us what's...
Inshore, believe it or not, I'm back on these snook that have moved up onto the flats. Now this time around, it ain't the big girls. It's these 10 to 12 pound fish.
Still a fun catch fish, though.
But little pilchards. That's all I got to say about that. You don't need a 6-inch pilchard or, you know, a 3-inch bait, 2.5, 3-inch baits.
So the biggest misconception of what people think is like they need that bigger bait, but you gotta fish with what's around.
That's what they're eating.
Yeah,
they're eating what's around.
You can't go to the pier and hunt and get those bigger pilchards. You catch what's around, what's in our estuaries here, and use that for your bait. It's my tip with that. What about the tarpon? Any
tarpon? I haven't. You know what? I ran the beach 2 days ago, looking for them and looking for them and looking for them, and I saw one little pod of tarpon. There might have been 6 fish, and they were all probably the 80-pound range guys down near Boca. By the Boca Inlet, but they didn't want nothing to do with food.
And they were just rolling.
They were on a slow cruise, and usually they're on a slow cruise. It's like lead fish. She peels off, eats the bait. Everybody's happy. You get hooked up, and it's just I've struggled with the tarpon forever, and everybody knows it, and I'm honest about it. It's just one fish that I've never really dialed in on. But there's times when you can take a 3-inch pilchard and flip it out in front of them. And the lead fish, and get that thing 5 foot one side of them where that line ain't in their way, and it's just pick the bait up and woof, here you go, have a good day.
The crabs work good for them too.
And the little, $half-dollar size guys.
Half-dollar size crabs. They love slurping those down. Those are good.
Now that you mention crabs, lots of calico crabs around, and well, it's June.
It's that time of year where they do their thing.
And the sad thing about it being June is, we've had so much freshwater runoff, like say the Boynton Inlet. Every June, there's permit that hang around in little rock piles there by the Boynton Inlet. But with all this fresh water, there's so much water coming out of that inlet on the outgoing tides. They're not there. You know,
I had one of my buddies. He was just down in the Keys. Got on a permit bite. Speaking of permit, went 6 for 6 on permit down there.
I'd have loved to have been on that boat. What do y'all think about that, huh?
6 for 6 on a permit bite.
Oh my God.
And and they got a cobia too. That's an incredible day.
I'd be very, very happy with any guy that took me out fishing and did that, or a buddy that said, come on, let's go fishing, and that happened with snook on the flat, small fish. Granted, I'm sure there's some big ones roaming around. I just haven't seen them. And I'm back to work in this shallow water from Boynton Inlet, all the little flats that go all the way up to the Palm Beach Inlet area and up around the Little Munyon Island. I don't go no further north than Little Munyon Island, because I ain't going to go up there to where it's just the water's not what it should be right now.
So our inshore fish for the week, if you're inshore fishing, target the snook.
It's a target. You're going to see little jacks, but target the snook.
Target the snook.
Target the snook.
All right, guys, that's your inshore report for the week with Captain Danny and Devin. We will see you next week. Welcome to X Generation Fish Report. This is your offshore report of the week. Today I'm joined with Captain Mike. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Heard you guys had a good fishing report for us.
We did. We went dolphin fishing this weekend. We fished a dolphin tournament at a Stewart.
How'd that go?
Good.
I heard about it.
Yeah, it was for a good cause. It's called Bulls for Brook.
Yep.
And it's for a good cause. And what they did was they had a $10,000 jackpot for anybody who can catch a dolphin over 45 pounds.
Well, according to Andy, that should be an easy feat, you know?
It should be, but it did not happen.
Wow.
So the $10,000 was not paid off because
is it rollover, or is it just every year?
They do it every year. If somebody can catch one over 45 pounds, it's $10,000 guaranteed.
That's a tough thing this time of year, though, to catch a big dolphin like that.
I mean, we ran almost all the way to the corner of the Bahamas. We stayed the exact amount of miles you're supposed to stay from the corner, but we were right there, and we found dolphin in between 1,000 feet all the way to the corner. And here's the thing: a lot of them were schools of the same size fish, and these fish were, barely legal. We decided to not mess with those. We fished, we caught some, I look at them and I could tell, okay, this is going to be close. And my thing is, if you have to measure a dolphin, it's not worth keeping.
No,
so we threw it back. We did have to keep one or two that were hooked weird and probably would not survive. So we did keep those because I'd rather eat those than throw them back and watch them
Yeah,
float away.
especially if they're legal size, you might.
But in that case, if they're flopping around and whatever, I like to throw those back because if they need to be measured, they need to be thrown back. That's my thing.
I completely agree with you on that because these fish
Right.
they grow so fast. In the next 2 months, if the school is still in the area, because you do get some resident dolphin that hang out that in a certain pattern, they're going to be plenty big by then.
Yeah, and don't forget, a dolphin grows roughly 25 pounds a year.
Yeah.
It's been proven that they grow more than that. I mean, there's been dolphin that have been tagged, estimated at 5 pounds, and they were caught 8 months down the road, and they were 30 pounds. You know.
Florida Sportsman's Magazine, they just had back in December, they had a big research on those. They tagged, I don't know, it was like over 500 dolphin for the research on how fast they grow to try to update that. So
Yeah.
but they said the same thing. It's over 25 pounds a year. 25 is just the average.
It's the average, but it's not uncommon they grow more. So you got to think of it this way. When you think of it this way, a 20-inch dolphin hasn't been alive very long.
Not at all.
A legal dolphin has not been alive very long. So when you put that in perspective, it changes a lot of people's minds about keeping them. Nothing wrong with keeping a 21, 22-inch fish if you're keeping one or two for dinner. I have no problem if you're in it, but there's no reason to keep 30, 21, 22-inch fish.
So here's my thing on that. So with the dolphin, and just for our viewers, everybody knows this time of year, Lake O, we have to dump the water from it. We get a big green slick. And dolphin are a pelagic species, so if you are hunting for those dolphin, I feel like you should push out to those deeper waters right away. Forget about staying anything from 300 to 500. You got to go to at least 800 plus.
Anybody that stayed inside of 1,000 feet didn't do very well. They caught a couple. Anybody who went on deep side of 1,000 feet, 1,200, 1,500, did very well.
Because just last year we did, it was a tournament. This was close to the same time. This was in September time.
Right.
So, I mean, we're still in the summer months, and we had to go to, how far do we go? About 2,500 feet?
25 miles out is where we ended up finding the fish. And they were nice sized fish at that time. But yeah, so, and look for that deep colored blue, water. And look for some structure, look for some seaweed, debris, stuff like that. What we did was we found areas where the weeds were insane. And if we were not clearing weeds off of a bait, we were fighting a fish. That's how it went all day long. We were clearing weeds or fighting a fish all day.
So tips and tricks for our viewers here. So
yeah, let's go right into that.
So let's go into that. So summertime, don't be afraid to run out to deeper water. Number one. Number two, when you're running, I like to do, and just like on your boat, I like to stand on the gondola, especially if it's flat, and try to sight fish for the fish. So that's my tip for you guys. If somebody's not afraid to stand up on the gondola and look, and you've got a good boat captain on there, more than happy, and you can sight fish for these fish.
Yeah.
Because on occasion you'll see one tail. Also, my other tip for you is if you find a weed line and find a weed line clump, don't be afraid to get two of Mr. Mullet's. They're rig squid. They're great baits.
Yeah.
And put them out. Prospect that weed line or prospect that structure, because a bull might not even be close to that structure. They might be running a little further away. Once you do get that hookup, then you know the fish are there. Then you could start chunking, and you could start throwing out your glass minnows.
That's right.
And you could start throwing out your chunk bait, because by then they're already competing now for the bait.
That's what we did. We would catch one dolphin going by a weed line, turn around, go back by, catch another dolphin, and at that point we pulled everything in and just started chumming and throwing glass minnows. The reason I like glass minnows is because you don't have to sit there and cut sardines. All right, glass minnows effectively chum the water just as good. And what we did at that point is we see what the fish look like that are coming up. If they're the same size as the ones we just caught that were 22 inches, we'd just leave them alone and keep moving. Other times, we'd see a bigger one in the pack and we'd start fishing. And at that point, we also had fresh live pilchards on the boat. So I would put on a pilchard and cast it way out.
It's like
and
candy for
we
those.
noticed some of the bigger ones were hanging out more on the outside too. And but they were eating everything. Mr. Mullet's was what we were primarily using. We were using their rig squid. We were using their rig squid, bonita strips, and we were using the mullet. Every single bait that I put out was getting hit. The squid, the mullet, and the bonita strip.
And he'll rig you your mono ballyhoo also, which the hooks are 10 times more effective than your mass production brands.
Exactly. The only reason I didn't get the mono rig ballyhoo is I feel like I'm old school. I usually rig my own bait. This is the first time that I've ever really bought rigged bait, and I did it because I know Doug rigs just like I would, if not better. You know,
he does it for a living. This is his livelihood.
That's what I mean. So I feel comfortable. Now, the reason I used to rig my own bait prior to knowing Doug and Mr. Mullis is because I don't trust the mass-produced stuff that's out there.
I completely agree.
Sometimes you got to go to it, but I did not. I was busy at work. I did not mind spending the money with somebody that's professional. Doug doesn't hire people that don't fish to rig his baits. He rigs his baits, and he fishes.
And it's a local business owned operator, so you're supporting local local businesses.
I know that he rigged every single one of those baits, and that gives me peace of mind.
So, other thing you should stay away from anything wire if you're dolphin fishing.
Strictly dolphin fishing, use mono.
And if you do, I would have a wire bait on there in case you get that cut off. You want to make that second pass, because sometimes you will get that wahoo out of the blue.
Right.
But strictly run the mono, and don't be afraid to run a couple of. If you're running just squid baits, don't be afraid to run something else in your mix too. Run a squid chain, because you never know that variation of depths and movement, what the fish will bite.
Yep. I did not put the planer out. I normally would. There was too many scattered weeds for the planer, but I did put the cigar trolling lead out with a 50-foot shock leader, and I didn't mind when that got weeded up. Sometimes I just left it and it still got hit, but we were busy. We were constantly clearing weeds and whatever. But the Mr. Mullets worked, the live pilchards worked. Everything was going on, but I feel like it's the way that we were attacking the situation.
Yeah, I think also with this weekend coming up, the weather has been a lot calmer, so these weeds are going to get more clumped up. You're going to have a way better shot at the dolphin this weekend, but you're going to have to run and gun.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, that is your offshore report with tips and tricks and the hot fish. We'll see you next week.
Weather and predictions for this weekend, Mike. It looks like we're going to have another nice weekend with the way they're talking. Maybe a couple scattered thunderstorms, I'm sure. But what do you predict?
I'm predicting that the dolphin bite's going to stay strong with all this seaweed coming through. All we need is a few days of east wind to kind of get everything set together, and then it's going to be beautiful for dolphin. As far as everything else, there's still some blackfin tuna around. A couple cobia are showing up here and there.
I heard about the cobia bite.
Yeah.
It was like, their cobia is usually come and gone. I guess because the shark population is so big, they're still hanging around here. But yeah, the cobia, I heard the kingfish bite is still good.
Yeah.
There's quite a. I mean, they're on the small end though.
Yeah.
Realistically, they're on the small end, but you got that. The bottom fishing's been really good. I mean, they've been catching African pompano.
Yeah.
On the bottom, and normally this time of year you don't talk about African pompano.
No, but they're here. Fishing's still good, which is great because the water quality coming out of the inlet suck right now with all the fresh water, but you can't complain because there's bait around still. I mean, you can complain because dirty water. Imagine how much better it would be if that dirty water wasn't there.
Right.
But there is bait and there's plenty of fish. This is the kind of weekend where I would say if you have, if you're a fair weather fisherman, go for that dolphin. Should be pristine conditions for dolphin. Just be careful for those afternoon storms.
Yes.
That's it. Get out there early, fish until it gets brutally hot, come back in, and call it a day.
Sit at the sandbar and get more burnt.
Yeah, but
drink your beer.
Stay hydrated, watch out for the afternoon storms, but dolphin fishing will continue to be pretty awesome.
No, I mean, the fishing's been all good. This is that time of year, guys, where everybody goes fishing, everybody catches fish, and even in the inshore bite, even at nighttime we're fishing the bridges. The moonfish have been there. I heard people fishing for sand perch, people going for the sheep's head. So keep in mind, all kinds of fish are being caught, but nevertheless, it's that time of year, and we actually recommend you guys going fishing. So that's our weather predictions for the weekend. I know it's not much. It's probably the same he said, she said you heard last week.
Yeah, but it's a little different because I never tell anybody to go run and gun for dolphin. A lot of times it's like, don't burn your fuel. Right now, burn your fuel. Fill your boat up, go do it, because you're going to catch a dolphin.
All right, man.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week with hopefully some better predictions.
Yep.